Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells it all regarding family court, other court issues, as well as CPS. I am your host, Marianne Petrie. You can find me on dismantlingfamilycourtcorruption.com. You can find my books published by Triumph Press on dismantlingfamilycourtcorruption.com and on Amazon. Dismantling Family Court Corruption, Why Taking the Kids Was Not Enough, and Cry Out for Justice, Poems of Truth, and Raised by These Wolves, How Family and Federal Courts Are Failing Our Children. And volume 3 of Raised by These Wolves should be coming out early July. Feel free to buy me a coffee, which you will find in the podcast notes. I'm really happy to have a brand new guest on. I have Eulonda Rushing on. She is from Cabarrus County, North Carolina, and Amanda Wallace from Operation Stop CPS will be joining us here in a little bit. She was last on the podcast, season 4, episode 25. But Eulonda Rushing is a dedicated wife and proud mother of 5 children, with the added role of stepmother to one. A veteran of the United States Army and native of Oklahoma, her family roots extend to Monroe, North Carolina, where a monument stands in honor of her heritage. Eulonda holds a double major from Oklahoma University and later pursued her Master's of Business Administration at Wake Forest School of Business upon moving to North Carolina in 2013. Known for her exceptional ability to listen and analyze people's concerns to propose effective solutions, Eulonda is a staunch advocate for justice and equality. As a candidate for county commissioner and recently selected to testify before the United States Civil Rights Commission, Eulonda is dedicated to championing meaningful change. She looks forward to sharing how her personal journey has shaped her commitment to serving her community and driving her campaign forward. And I totally welcome you, Eulonda, and I see Amanda Wallace is here with us as well. I welcome you both.
Thank you, Marianne. I'm so glad to be here and to share my story. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Oh, I'm glad to have you on. I'm just glad that you are trying to make the world a better place, which is what we need in Cabarrus County, North Carolina.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thanks, Amanda, for joining in with me today. She is going to help discuss the selection to the United States Civil Rights Commission panel and how that all came about and what that entails. And before we get to that, I do want to provide my case background just a little bit on a high level to provide the audience an opportunity to understand my position on certain aspects of this whole CPS reform. And with that, I had my children removed from my home on August the 7th of 2023. Now, the crazy thing is I was not home during this time.
Mm-hmm.
My husband was here, and I was actually at a law firm's office when I received the call from my husband. I do want to say thanks to Officer Kelly. Officer Kelly was present during the time when my children were removed. And during that time, I asked him if he could please just stall them out until I can get there to say goodbye. I would greatly appreciate it. And with that, he did that for me. So you can imagine the speed and the adrenaline coming here and trying to say goodbye to my little ones and not knowing why,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? And we have reasons that we received. I will tell you that those reasons do not rise to the level of my children being removed. So therefore, I will keep staying and keep advocating that my children were improperly removed.
Mm-hmm.
This journey that they call it, I don't look at it as a journey. I look at it as a purpose fulfilled because I always ask myself and my husband, like, why us?
Mm-hmm.
I asked God, why us? Why did this have to be us? And we struggled with that answer for quite some time because we just couldn't imagine this action that was taken against us. And so, with that, I can tell you that I don't look at this as a journey. I look at this as a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I believe this purpose has opened doors to the obvious, the inconsistencies that's going on with CPS in our very own community here in Cabarrus County. I have had the opportunity of meeting other families that are going through the same thing. I've met families that are afraid to speak up, to speak out. They are being told to be silent. Some are afraid to even say anything. Some
Mhm.
are even looked at as being crazy, like the Andersons. The Andersons are not crazy.
Mm-mm.
They are well in tune of what is going on.
Mhm.
They just want answers, just like any other family. They want answers. And so when you have CPS come to your home and improperly remove your children, and you don't know why, you can only imagine the stress that mounts on that. And you're trying to navigate this difficult system and trying to really understand what issues are here. Now, if it wasn't for people that came into our lives that helped us navigate this process, I don't know where we would be. So
Mm.
I thank all of those people. And one of those individuals happens to be Amanda Wallace.
Mhm.
When I met Amanda, I was like, Amanda, is this real? Like, is
Oh.
this really happening? And it took Amanda to really explain to me that yes, this happens. And from her experience as a social worker, I just can't imagine all the things that she went through and
Mhm.
had to put up with and deal with. But I can tell you that she's a very strong advocate for the change, and I can see the passion in her. And I can tell you that I am right there with her one step of the way in wanting this system to be abolished, reformed. Something needs to happen, and it needs to happen quick because
Oh,
our
yes.
children are hurting. Our children are suffering.
Mhm.
And it's like, why? At what cost? You know? And so I know Amanda will give some more insight into all of this, but I can tell you that with my case, we are still fighting this.
Mm.
And that's okay. That's perfectly fine. And I say it's perfectly fine because I have to come at peace to
Mhm.
what the system has done. And if I can't come at peace to what the system has done, then how can I be an advocate for those who are affected by it?
Mhm.
So the reality is, this has happened. Now that it has happened, what do I need to do to move forward? And that is what I intend to do, to use my voice to continue to advocate for change, regardless of the efforts that are made to try to cover up, to try to hide, to try to embellish like what is really going on here. No, there is no time for that. This is a time where we're now in an election year.
Mhm.
This is a time, in my opinion, where every political elected official, candidate, someone needs to be addressing this very topic because this topic is hot and it
Mhm.
concerns a lot of innocent children that don't have a voice, that don't have a voice.
Mhm.
And so I will let Amanda chime in here with me to see if she wanted to have any input on that as well.
Well, definitely. Thank you, Eulonda, for that introduction, right? And also, Marianne, thank you for having me as well.
Thank you.
And so, yeah, my name is Amanda Wallace. I'm the founder of Operation Stop CPS, and our mission is to abolish the family policing system. You know, Eulonda, you said in regards to something needs to happen. It has to be abolishing, demolishing, reform, right? We understand that, you know, abolishment is where we are if we understand the root of this system, right? Like Yolanda said, that this is just her family represents one family that has been impacted by this system, but it is not unique. And there are millions of families that have been impacted by this system since its creation. And again, when we think about the root of this system, we know that this system is rooted, right, in the continuation of slavery. We understand that this system is rooted in the continuation of trying to sell Black bodies. And
Mhm.
so if we look at it in that lens, we understand that there is no reforming this system, right? And so when we think about, well, why is this happening, right? Why is this happening? And we understand that it is financial, right? If you follow the money, you will see why this system is still operating. And, you know, from my background, I used to be a child protective service investigator for 10 years. And so being able to see the corruption firsthand inside of the system, realizing that, again, you cannot fix this system from the inside because of the brainwashing that happens. And you have to learn what the system is teaching you in order to stay on the inside. And if you don't believe that, then you're a threat to this system.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just become a threat. And so that's why we launched Operation Stop CPS, to be on the front lines on the outside, working with families to reunite with their children, and also to prevent this from happening in the first place. And so we have done a lot of work to be able to bring this issue to the forefront. And so the North Carolina Civil Rights Advisory Committee is examining the child welfare system here in North Carolina. And like Eulonda said, her and James will be on the panel of impacted individuals who will speak to the commission and explain what is happening and the impact that this system is having on their family. But there is also an opportunity for the public, just the mass public, to be able to participate in this project. And so on June 27th, from 6 to 8 p.m., there will be a community forum for all families in North Carolina who have been impacted by this system to speak truth to power, right? And to come and to explain how this system has impacted them. And I'm just going to give a disclaimer, because I only know how to shoot from the hip.
Yeah.
Listen, y'all, this is an opportunity to really shed light on this system, right? We cannot dance around the issue. We cannot give this system any excuses or reasons to, be better. We have to explain the impact. That simple knock on the door is impactful. Just knocking on someone's door and telling them that you are a state actor, a government official with the power to take away somebody's child is impactful, and it is harmful. We need to bring that forward. We need to explain how this system is impacting folks and the harm of family separation, and call it what it is, right? This is not child protective services. This is family policing. This is family regulation. And so I'm giving y'all the words because I need to hear it back on the 27th when y'all come and testify to what is happening, because this is family policing. And I want people to be able to say that to the commission so that they start to change their language, right? Because language is so important. Go ahead.
Where will that take place? Where's the location?
It is virtual. It is virtual. So it's best for mass participation. It is virtual. I can send you the link, Marianne, after this, so you can share it out. And we just want people to be able to sign up. You have until June 26th to sign up. But again, it is virtual. They said on there that it could be shorter if we don't have public participation. Let's show them that the public will participate in this, because we are going to show up and make sure that our voices are heard.
And Amanda, I just want to echo what you said about, if you don't believe these things are happening, then you are a threat. And I can definitely understand where you're coming from with that. Because when you have someone that doesn't believe this, then they try to create their own narrative, and they still try to find ways to rebuke what you're saying, right? And so with that, I can tell you that my story is not crazy. It is actually real. It is unbelievable. And I have told that to so many people. You're not going to believe when I tell you this. And the moment I tell them the story, it's like, are you really? DSS? Nah, it's true. Now, DSS has components, they say, that are there to help individuals, right? But when it comes down to CPS itself, that's the department of that sector that I am wanting to advocate against. That's the part that really needs addressing. Now, don't get me wrong, there are other things that need to happen as well. But when it comes to taking or improperly removing children from your home, then that's an issue for me. Because, like Amanda said, when you see the trauma that can happen from a child being torn from their family, and then you're limited to only an hour or 2 hours a week. Can you imagine? Especially if that child has already have that bond, connection, and family unit structure built, and then you put them in an environment or another setting that is not the same setting of what they used to do. And then you have to rely on DSS to take care of your children the way you take care of your children. And I can tell you right now, my children are not taken care of the way I take care of my children with excellence. Not the way. And I just want to reiterate, if you don't believe this, then you are a threat to this whole situation. It's real, it's true, and people are afraid to speak up about it. And one of the reasons why my husband and I were afraid to speak up about it was because it comes with this negative stigma. When you hear that someone has taken what DSS has removed your kids, you think, oh, well, what did you do? Are you sure you didn't do anything wrong? Absolutely 100%. We are sure we did nothing wrong, but yet we fell victim to this. And when I say victim, let me choose my words carefully, because I don't want to be a victim to this system. I
Mm-mm.
want to be a survivor to this system so that I can help others come out of this, because this is insane. This is, I
It is.
cannot begin to tell you all the things that my husband and I have been through. When you think that people are there for you, they're
Mm.
not.
Mm-mm.
You have to understand who is there for you. And this situation right here has definitely shown us who is here for us. And I know Amanda Wallace is definitely here for us. And, I just have to keep voicing it, no matter how crazy you think I may sound. Now, the other thing to this is, as you may know, Marianne, and you shared in your introduction, is yes, I am running for county commissioner.
Mm.
I have now heard I am running on a vendetta. To the people
Uh,
that are listening, my campaign is not on a vendetta.
mm.
My campaign is based upon my experiences, not only while living in Cabarrus County, but throughout life. And those experiences have shaped me for this very moment. And I can tell you that my passion for running is driven because of the things that I have learned. Now,
Mhm.
what have I learned? I've learned most of the ins and outs of what DSS can and can't do. So now I want to empower those individuals to understand what DSS can and can't do. My situation now has, my son is in Michigan, my oldest son. And it's sad that my oldest son had to move to another school out of state to receive the services that he needs for IEP.
Mhm.
That's another topic with education that I'm passionate about that needs to be groomed and fixed.
Mhm.
So again, this is not a vendetta for me. I appreciate what social workers do, right? But just because one social worker does something wrong doesn't mean that every social worker is a bad social worker. We got Amanda Wallace here, who was a good social worker, but
Mhm.
now she is fighting and she still is a good social worker.
Mhm.
What defines that? But I can tell you right now that just because a social worker is doing their job, and just because another social worker didn't do their job, does not define the vendetta that I'm on.
Mhm.
It defines a moment that I want social workers to do the right thing, to speak up, to speak out. Don't be afraid of your DSS attorney. Don't be afraid of those in power that say that uses that power in ill will intentions. Speak
Mhm.
up, stand up for those people that don't have a voice. You're an elected official, speak up. You see it, speak up. What is wrong and what is hard with speaking up? I know that politics play a lot in that, and you can tell that I am not your average politician. I'm a mom,
Mhm.
I'm a wife, and I'm your neighbor that cares. I'm a neighbor that loves children, that when a child is hurt, I'm there. And when you get to know me, you will see that.
Mhm. And that's someone who should be in the county commissioner's seat.
Yeah, and let's be honest, when you look at my county commissioners, they don't look nothing like me.
Mhm.
They don't fully represent our community. It's not diverse like it should be. So
Mhm.
when you have people coming to the county commissioners to discuss issues like this, I then have to say, well, how can they relate? How would they understand?
Right.
When you try to invite them to the table to understand or to have those conversations and your emails fall on deaf ears, then that's where the problem then comes to lie. You don't have that opportunity. to provide your perspective. The other issue that I have is that the DSS state level tells you that if you have a complaint that you need to address it at the county level. Well, how can I address things at the county level when all the parties are tied together? The judge is tied to the county commissioners, the county commissioners is tied to the DSS attorney. It's all locked in. So how can a parent fully file a complaint? How can a parent fully get their issues and concerns out when you have the county that's working hand in hand and not really extending that offer to have that conversation and open up? Now, I can tell you that I did have the pleasure of meeting with the two county managers. Meeting with those county managers was some good and some bad.
Mhm.
But hey, that's work in progress. You got to teach them and get them up to speed. But again, we have to have those conversations. You have to bring the community in to bring those conversations. You can't handpick and select who you want on these boards and then think the problem's going to be solved. It's not. It is just not going to do that.
Do you think favors for friends plays in these campaigns? I mean, I do. I mean, that's why I'm bringing that up, because I think, people have too many friends, and now it's running for reelection. They want to probably get one of their friends in when they really should have a genuine, solid person like Eulonda Rushing.
Exactly. I have seen some names on some of these boards, and it's like, no, you shouldn't be there. But hey, I know, listen, if the role wasn't advertised, then I know it was a handpicked selection. If you didn't ask the community to be a part of this and reaching out to see what experiences was out there, then I know this was handpicked. So when you handpick, this is what you get: complacency. And with the complacency breeds these types of issues to where you can't get people to speak up. You can't get people to speak out because they're afraid to. And then you ask yourself, why are they afraid to? Because I can tell you right now, I've been told to be quiet. Don't say nothing. Why? Why? And I had said this before. What would I be teaching my 10-year-old daughter, my 5-year-old son, my 4, to be quiet, to raise them up in a community where if you see a problem or a situation, you are then trained and told to be quiet? Why would you want to silence children's voices to be quiet? Why would you want to silence anyone's voices to be quiet? And then my question is, why do you not want them to be heard? What is so wrong with what they're saying? That's the issue that you have, is what they're saying. But if you can just take the time and stop the cover up, bring these issues to the table, speak about them in the open, then I know you will have better results. But when you do things behind closed doors, when you cover things up, that's not going to work. It's not. And it definitely doesn't show any transparency to the community at all.
Exactly. With the collusion. And I'm sure even Amanda can speak to that as well, with some of these parents going through this. Unless you've been through it, this is a horrible travesty. And it's easy for someone on the outside looking in saying, oh, that's never going to happen to me, until it does. Because CPS will affect, what, Amanda, probably 1 in 3 families. They will touch 1 in 3 families, and they will cause ultimate destruction. They will come in your home, light a fire in your living room, and then leave. And saying that the parent doesn't need services anymore, but yet the kids are gone. Come on.
Well, one of the things that I don't understand, and maybe Amanda can share this with me, but I did learn that when a child is removed, the first thing that they do is do a mental evaluation on all parents. That's the very first thing, with no questions asked. I know I asked another social worker, well, why is that the case? Why is mental evaluations done for when a child is removed? Like, that's the automatic thing to go through. But then the crazy, ironic thing to that is, we are dealing with mental health crisis in America. And a lot of Americans are dealing with mental health issues. then, and this may sound crazy, but it's like, if a lot of Americans have mental health issues, then why are you not removing those children with those from those Americans who are having mental health issues? Does that make sense? So it's kind of like, I don't get that part of it. I don't understand that. And I know maybe Amanda can shed some light on that. But I just don't think that when you take a child, that's automatically saying that you're lacking some type of mental state to take care of your child because of this allegation or something that was reported.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the money, right? And following the money. They have these mental health evaluations because the people that are contracted to do the mental health evaluations are contracted by the department to do the evaluations. And because the reason why they are giving that to all families or recommending that is because, one, families are allowing it because they have their children, and because they think that that's the way that they're going to get their children back quicker. And so they force you to comply with these case plans, and they'll put the mental health assessment on there. And because they know that if they send you to their mental health provider is going to say you have a problem, that then says why they have to keep your child. Because, one, who would not have a mental health problem when they are been separated from their child, right? And so like that in itself is like, come on now, right? And so again, it's all because they work together in regards to these mental health assessments and all of these services that they recommend. And so the thing that I would tell people, though, is that when DSS or CPS or the family police take your child away, they do not have the power to make you do any services. It is a judge that has to order you to do services. But what they do is, again, force you into a case plan to tell you that you can do this quicker, or we can get this done. But like, again, that's coercion. And that's getting into a contract with these people. And then, of course, if they're going to be like, oh, well, they signed the case plan, they said that they're willing to do it, and then that just gets sent to the judge, and then now it's a court order. And so like having people just take a step back and understanding what this process is, like, it is adversarial. Like, it doesn't matter what they say, we're just trying to help you. No, it is the state taking your child away. And so you have to treat the state as if they are the other side and the other party, like things like not speaking to them without your attorney, like those things. So again, it goes back to the mental health assessment. It's just a tool in their toolbox of tricks to just, again, lock people into services.
Oh, most definitely. Even when I had a rogue caseworker, she was not a social worker. She just had a bachelor's in like child rearing. I don't know, but she sat down on the couch and she said, "Here, sign this." And it was just a blank piece of paper with a line and my name. And it's like, well, what is this? It's just saying that I was here. And I'm like, oh, I mean, you're so distressed. It's like, well, okay, you're here, so I signed it. But they could attach that to anything.
Yep. That's true. Yep. Yep.
But who would know because you're so distressed?
Yep.
Absolutely. And that was one of the things in our case, and it was the case plan. The case plan is one of the other issues that we were having. And again, I didn't enter a case plan because of a lot of reasons. And like Amanda said, that's one of the reasons. And my thing is, and one of the other things I didn't understand quite well either is, if you want someone to do a mental health assessment, then that means that you should have had some type of evidence prior to. So where is your evidence that speaks to the mental issue or concern that you are seeing? And so for me, that was not seen. So then for me, more questions have surfaced because of that. Again, my case is still open, but I can't wait for it to be closed.
And it should have been closed. It should never have happened.
Right. I would agree with you on that. And I will continue to speak up and speak out. And I can't wait to give my testimony in August to shine a light on this issue, because I'm not going to be afraid to speak up about it. So
yeah, people have to not live in fear. I know that's easy for me to say, but I mean, I have spoken out and I've taken it to the federal court. Granted, it failed in federal court, but what the taxpayer needs to know, as what Amanda Wallace was saying about these incentives, and people need to go down that rabbit hole and look at Title 4B, D, and E. And this is attached to our Social Security monies. And this is not good, taxpayer. Taxpayers need to learn this stuff, because the taxpayer is essentially allowing these caseworkers to torture the taxpayer.
With my case alone, I can only imagine how much tax dollars was spent.
Mm.
And this has been going on since August the 7th. And right now, Cabarrus County is having the issue of high property taxes. They're trying to address that issue, tax increase, and all of these things. And where's the money going? Why is these expenses being so much? Why is the budget so high? It's a lot of things that go into that. And so, looking at my particular case, I will definitely advocate that a lot of tax dollars money is wasted. It's being wasted on this.
Right. And like the money is being wasted, but understanding that this family policing is a money making those scheme, right? And so even though they are using money to operate, that is how they are bringing down money from the federal and state government as well, right? And so they know that they're going to be wasting money. Like they know that, but they understand that the money that they're getting for every child that's in foster care, every, justifying the social worker's salary, the car that they have to drive out to the house, right? The paper that they have to print the report on. Again, it is a scheme, it is an operation, and they expect to have these expenses of their operation. But again, it is so that they can bring these funds down. It's an industry.
And the state makes billions of dollars off this industry, each state.
Yeah, I can tell you within the first, from August the 7th till December, I can tell you in that time frame alone, I spent close to $35,000 in attorney fees. And my question was, why is this so expensive? Like, because we hadn't had a hearing yet at that time. So I didn't understand how these charges were being added up like this. So when you think on average, it was like $5,000 a month. And when you think about that, that's a mortgage payment, that's bills, that's probably a whole month's salary and some. Now, can you imagine other families that are in these situations to where they are economically disadvantaged and they don't have the resources to advocate for their family to stay together? I can tell you right now, I can't imagine, because unfortunately with me, I had to buckle down and get a court appointed attorney because it was too expensive, literally too expensive. And my heart goes out to those individuals that are economically disadvantaged and you don't have the resources to hire an attorney, one that's going to fight effectively for you, right? Because when you get a court appointed attorney, let's be honest, they already got a lot of caseloads. You don't know what you're going to get. You don't know if they're going to advocate for you or not. So you're just left. And then, in my opinion, you're left even more vulnerable. So you're in this system, and then you're left vulnerable in these situations to where you really can't advocate for yourself. And my heart just goes out to those individuals, into my family, because I don't believe that if you're fighting for your children, it should cost that much money to do so. And I think, and I believe that if the government is going to incentivize, they need to incentivize in a positive way. Incentivize the community-based programs to help bring and keep these families together. Incentivize, mediators instead of going through the court system. Just find different ways to do it instead of navigating that process, because like I said, it's expensive, it's tiring. So not only do you have to navigate the family court system, you got to navigate DSS, then you have to work. And that's another component that's in itself. You got to take time to be able to visit your children. And if you don't visit your children, then you're penalized, you know. And if when you're penalized for that, then guess what? Then you have to choose between seeing your child and going to work. And if you don't go to work, then guess what? Then you may lose your job. And when you lose your job, DSS is going to be right there to say, yep, you lost your job. You can't take care of your kids. So therefore, there's no reason why the children should be returned to you.
Right.
It's not that.
No,
It is not that.
right. And meanwhile, if you're not able to see your kids, like you were saying, then CPS is then telling your kids, see, your mom or dad, they didn't want to see you today. They're instilling alienation with the parent and the child.
I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. And then this is and with that, what I get is if you can't prove it, then it's an allegation, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm constantly being told, well, we can't make assumptions. What do you want to call it then? Because I know my child. My husband and I, we know our children better than DSS knows our children, better than the experts know our children. We know our children. So when we see something and we know that it's not ordinary, then we then question, well, what happened? What has been said? Because I can tell you right now, all of my children want to be home.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be home.
Mm-hmm.
And it's sad that they can say this to the social workers or in the presence of social workers, but nothing's being done. Nothing can be done because you have to navigate this system.
And they want it to take longer to draw it out and draw out these incentives. And these children have a price tag on their head, especially when they are adopted out.
Yes, and I will tell you, as I did have an opportunity to see some of the court cases, I asked the state this question: why is adoption the first thing that social workers are advocating for? And then the answer I get was, well, maybe there's more history to the case. And it's like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But no, you can't tell me adoption is the first course of action for every child you take. And when you say reunification, I'm still wondering what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
What is reunification? What does that mean? I hear it, I see it written in manuals,
Mm-hmm.
I see it written in policies, I see it written in statutes, but I've never experienced it.
Mm-hmm.
So what is that? You know, what what is that going to look like for families to have their families be put back together? And I can tell you from my experience, I don't believe there is a reunification.
Amanda, what do you think of that?
Well, when you say, Eulonda, they said, well, maybe it's some history of the case. It's not history of the case, it's the history of the system, right? And
Right.
so like, if we understand the history of the system, we know that children get, like, it's bonuses, right? North Carolina alone gets $4,000 to $12,000 for every child that they adopt out. So again, why would you not push for the financial incentive of adopting children out as the state? And then when you say, like, what is reunification? I think for the system, reunification is just a barrier to what it is that their end goal is, which is to separate families for good. They have to, because it's in the statute, right? They have to put reunification as the primary goal when a child comes into custody. But like you said, what is reunification? How are you really pushing reunification when you are only having children see their parents once a week for an hour? That doesn't really feel like you're trying to get families back together, right? When you're not even communicating with families, right? Like, and so again, it is just a rubber stamp on a plan to just say that we are trying to, right? Or even when it comes to diligent efforts to prevent removal. What are those real diligent efforts to prevent children from coming into care? Those are just things that the department says because it's attached to funding. But if we really looked at what reunification is, it would be children being with their families. This whole thing about when children come into custody, the contact has to be supervised. It's something that the department has made up because, like, if say the child comes in, because most of the time, right, cases come in for neglect. And so if a family comes in because they lack resources, why wouldn't you give them those resources and not have to now separate this child and family, right? That when you think about reunification, first of all, it shouldn't be reunification, like giving them back. It should just be unification and keeping people together, right? And so, but again, the department doesn't know what that is. Like they don't know what that is. And it takes, though, the community, and it takes families pushing back against what it is that they're doing. Oh, you say reunification is your plan. What are you doing? What is your real plan to make sure that reunification is happening? How are you increasing visitation? How are you making sure that like families are like together more than just like a week at a time? Like those types of things to really push what it is that needs to happen. But if you leave it to them, they're not going to.
No.
They're not going to.
No, and
reunify.
by the time CPS has badmouthed the parent to the child, and they try to reunify, that child may not want anything to do with that parent. So they've succeeded. They win.
And that's scary.
Yes.
That's scary for me because, like I said, I have a 10-year-old daughter. And I hate the fact that I cannot speak to her. She had a situation to where she had, I guess, a false alarm with her menstrual. And, you know, as a mother, that's a time in your life that I believe all mothers want to be present to help navigate their daughter through. And it was that moment, I believe that moment for me right there was like, I have got to stop saying that I'm a victim to this system, and I've got to realize and understand that they're in this, and I have got to fight my way out of this and be a survivor in doing this. Because again, I go back to, they're not going to care for my children the way me as a mother who gave birth to these children is going to care for them. The nurture that they're needing from a mother is not there. And I know that my children are longing for that. I see it in our visits. I feel it in our visits. And when you say you don't know what DSS may be saying to the children, my daughter tiptoes around certain topics when we talk. She's not as open as she used to be with wanting to share things with me. And I myself have to wonder and worry about what I say because I know that I'm being watched. And is that healthy? No, that's not healthy. I should be able to have this open conversation with her, and she should be able to have this open conversation with me. There's plenty of times where I can recall us sitting on the bed sharing stories about what happened at school. Why are you sad? Why are you this way? And now at my visits, what's wrong? Are you okay?
No, and I think
about, and that's
that I think the child is also being coached. There's a story in volume 2 of Raised by These Wolves. The subtitle is Child Trafficking Within the Foster Care and Court Systems. There is a story in there where this foster child was told to not say anything bad about what was going on in the foster home to the psychologist. They just wanted to hear, you know, nothing about any abuse.
right. But that brings me back to what Amanda said earlier. Like, this is all like lined up, like follow the money. And I just have a question, like, why does DSS want you to go to certain therapists, certain counseling services? Why can you not go to your own services or find your own therapist? So that was a red flag for me. I don't get that. I don't understand that because regardless of what therapist or who you go and see or take the family to, that therapist has an obligation and a duty to fulfill what they said they would fulfill. And that was providing the services and mental health services, counseling that they need to help heal, nurture, protect that child or family. And if you didn't sign up to do that, then that's another problem.
Yeah.
So again, I don't, I go back to, there should not be a reason why you cannot go to your own therapist or seek your own service providers when they ask you to do certain things.
Now, Amanda, like this question for you too, Eulonda. So if they tell you to go to their therapist, they make you pay for that bill. Okay, so if you have health insurance,
that part I don't know. Maybe Amanda can shed light on that part. Because like I said, I have not exercised the case plan because I'm waiting for my case. But maybe Amanda can shed light on if you do have to pay for those services.
So if you go to the department's person, they are supposed to pay for all of those services. Now if you, but so you would think though, if you have your own person and they already have the funds, they should be able to just pay for the person that you identify, but they will oftentimes tell the parent that they have to pay for the person that they identify, and that they will only pay for like mental health services if it's from a person that they identified as a department. So like their psychological evaluations, mental health evaluations, like their people, like they have contracts with people to be able to pay for them to be able to do those services. But again, they're biased. Like they're going to just say what the person that's paying them is telling them to say. And so that's why it's not good to be able to like go with these service providers.
Right. It's collusion all around. And that's why I feel family court and CPS should just be abolished.
Yeah.
That's me though. I mean,
it should. But that goes back to like when we say like if you don't believe it, then like you're a threat, right? Like, and what is abolition, right? And so abolition really like starts with belief. Right. You have to have people to believe what it is that you're saying. If you believe that this system is benevolent, then you're not going to see it. If you believe that this system has some like reform in it, then you're not going to see it. Right. And so again, abolition starts with belief, but also you're not just trying to take something down as well. You're also like breathing life into families. You're also breathing what it is that like it could be before this system even existed, right? We're thinking about what does it mean to have a village? What does it mean for communities to take care of themselves, right? Like if you really just looked at individual situations and you said, okay, this child was taken away, this family was forever changed. What could we have done instead? Right? What resources could we have materialized? What resources or how could we have brought this together so we could have a different outcome, right? It is really revolutionizing how we think and how we critically think about how families like, or how families should be together. It's about keeping families together, keeping communities together, right? So again, like when people say, oh, you just want to take down the system and you just don't want it to be there. Correct. We do not want a system to be there. We want communities to be strong. We want families to be thriving, and we want children and the next generation to never have to experience the not. That is what we are dreaming of. And it's not just a dream. We are also taking action to make sure that happens by educating communities and educating families about what this system truly is.
Well said.
And yes, that is so well said. And it segues into my final comment that I get is I'm not from North Carolina. I'm not from Cabarrus County. So I guess like what possible reason why would I want to run for county commissioner? What qualifies me? Listen, you have a person right here who wants change. It should not matter where I come from. Because at the end of the day, I moved to North Carolina because I had a dream and I had ambitions. And those ambitions were big. And I'm not going to apologize for my ambitions. And those ambitions right now is including me running for office. If I don't win, guess what? I can always run again. And I do not have to silence my voice because I lose. I'm not from Cabarrus County. I'm not from North Carolina. That should make no difference. My children, my last two children was born in Concord. I should be able to voice their concerns just as much as anybody else that's been born here, raised here, lived here all their life. At the end of the day, we are a community. We're supposed to be one. So why would it matter if you were here 50 something years and I was here 10 years? at the end of the day, what issues we have in Cabarrus County is everyone's issue. It is not just defined to limit it to one person. So Cabarrus County, if you're listening, I am here and I am ready to fight. And it, like I said, it takes a community of leaders to look like the community for change to become into play. And that's what I want to advocate for.
Definitely.
And then I will say this, Attorney H.J. White, Sr., I forgive you. I forgive you. I forgive you in its all capacity, in all levels. I forgive you. You know, you know, and I can only hope and pray that things can change. And to the other people that played a role, I forgive you. Because if I don't forgive you, then how can I heal and move forward to help those that need help? I'm done and I'm ready to continue to fight, and I will not be silenced anymore. So any opportunity that I can get to speak up and speak out, that's what I will do.
And I will add to that, Eulonda, is that God will deal with them. You can
Yes.
forgive them, but in the end, they have to answer to a higher judge.
And that's why I said earlier, this is not my journey. This is a purpose fulfilled, because I do believe that it was God's reasoning for all of this to come into the opening. I don't think I'm God. I know I'm not God, but I can tell you what's being done is not right. And at the end of the day, it should all boil down to doing what's right and not being afraid to do what is right.
Exactly. Now, how can people reach you if they have any questions?
Yes, you can reach me by email. That's Eulonda, EULONDAJ @gmail.com. I will also tell you that you can reach me on my cell phone, and I do give out my personal number because that is just how I am ready to fight all of this. And that's 405-919-2865. And I'll put another plug out there. If there is another family out there or anyone in Cabarrus County that are having these issues, please reach out to me. I am here. I'm wanting to talk to you. You are not alone in this. And trust me, there are people coming up to me that are afraid, like I said, to speak up and speak out about it. But just having and knowing someone that's going through the same thing kind of helps them navigate it as well.
And Amanda, would you like to add anything? And how can people reach you?
You can go to our website, www.operationstopcps.com. If you are a family that is impacted in North Carolina, you can go to our change agent services and set up a time to talk more about what is happening with your family. Also, there's resources on there so that you can, understand like what is happening, like how to create your own change campaign, just how to think about what this system is differently. Also, the Respond and Power Guide for families who like need to understand like what to do when you get that knock on the door. On there. Right now, if you use the code BMM24, so that's Black Mothers March 24, you can get the free Respond and Power Guide, the virtual copy of the Respond and Power Guide. And so definitely recommend that people take advantage of that and getting that resource. But I would just leave with, again, this issue in North Carolina is a huge issue. And so for doing this work for, again, 3 years on the outside, what I see as the biggest issue is the belief in this system. And so again, we want to make sure that we are bringing the language of this system out into the community, that it is the family policing system, having people do their research and look for organizations like Movement for Family Power, right? The Up In movement, right? These are like organizations that have been in this fight that like you can do research on Dorothy Roberts, read her book, right? Like these are things that people can do to like unlearn what this system has taught, like has been able to teach society. Because that's the stage that I am in right now, is
Right.
unlearning, right? You have to unlearn this system if we want change to happen. Because if we do not take the time to unlearn, we will just, like, even if it's subliminal, we will continue to push this system forward. And so yes, just let's all be in a state of unlearning here in North Carolina.
Oh, I agree. And again, on June 27th, you mentioned there will be a virtual link, and I'll have that in the podcast notes. And that will take place at 6 to 8 p.m. for families in North Carolina to speak out. And I totally thank you both for coming on, but don't jump off, okay? Slam the Gavel is a podcast to help the public understand what really goes on in these family courtrooms. I am your host, Marianne Petrie. You can find me on Spotify, YouTube, Apple iTunes, iHeartRadio, other platforms I don't know about. Feel free to buy me a coffee to help keep this podcast going. And I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much, Eulonda and Amanda. I totally thank you for speaking out.